In this video, I'm going to show you how to take your Romanian deadlift technique to the next level to build bigger, stronger hamstrings fast. Romanian deadlifts can be one of the most effective hamstring building exercises out there when performed properly. And for that reason, they're worth seriously considering as being a staple in your program if they aren't already.
Just do it!
Coming up, I'm going to reveal 3 essential tips to maximize your hamstring muscle growth when performing Romanian deadlifts. Plus, 6 additional lightning tips that you can consider implementing as well that have the potential to make your Romanian deadlift technique even more effective for building your hamstrings. By the time you get to the end of this video, you're going to practically be an expert at Romanian deadlifts, to the point where the next time you perform them, your hamstrings are not going to know what hit them. Whoa. Okay, let's dive in. Essential tip number 1, understand the mechanics of the exercise. Simply put, if you understand the Romanian deadlift movement pattern, then you'll be able to perform the exercise efficiently to smoke your hamstrings. I know this seems obvious, but I think a lot of people overlook it. A Romanian deadlift is meant to be performed as pure hip extension, where the movement happens entirely from the hip joint. Keeping that in mind, one of the primary functions of the hamstrings is hip extension, making the exercise perfect for targeting that muscle. This is different from a conventional deadlift, where the movement is a combination of both hip extension and knee extension, where the quads are also involved. Because a Romanian deadlift is pure hip extension and takes your hamstrings through their full range of motion without any involvement from the quads, it's a more effective exercise rep for building your hamstrings compared to a conventional deadlift. So if you understand that the movement pattern of a Romanian deadlift is pure hip extension, and do your best not to mistake it for something like a conventional deadlift where knee extension is also involved, then your hamstrings will have no choice but to grow. And now for the first lightning round. Lightning tip number 1, try keeping your chin up during the movement. This can be a helpful cue to help keep tension on your hamstrings and not elsewhere, like on your lower back muscles. Try picking a spot to stare at, like on the ground, wall, or mirror in front of you to do this. The second lightning tip is to use wrist straps. When you find that your grip starts to give out before your hamstrings do during a set, opting to use wrist straps is a no-brainer. The last thing you want is for your hamstrings to not get the stimulus they need to grow because the limitations of your grip strength get in the way. There isn't a time where you'll find me doing Romanian deadlifts without them. All right, time for essential tip number 2. Brace your midsection properly. During a Romanian deadlift, your spinal erectors have to work hard to keep your spine in an extended position and to keep it from rounding over. Bracing your midsection hard will act to add another huge layer of support for your spine, helping you massively to keep your spine extended. The extra support will not only help to keep you safe during the movement, but it will help to keep tension exactly where you want it, right on the old hammies. You can also think of it like this. By bracing your midsection hard to support your spine, you'll be setting yourself in the strongest, most stable position possible. And being in the strongest, most stable position possible means having the capacity to perform your best during the movement and exposing your hamstrings to maximal amounts of muscle growth stimulus. If you don't brace your midsection sufficiently, on the other hand, your capacity to expose your hamstrings to muscle growth stimulus will be limited, to say the least. To get a full crash course on how to breathe and brace your midsection correctly during a Romanian deadlift, or any exercise that you'd be performing at the gym for that matter, be sure to watch this video to learn how once you've finished watching this one. I've also linked it in the description below. And now for the second lightning round. Lightning tip number 3, consider adding a deficit. You'll notice in the video recordings of me doing the exercise that I'm standing on an elevated platform. The elevated platform adds a deficit to the exercise. Why do this? It allows me to move deeper, thereby giving me the ability to expose my hamstrings to mechanical tension in their most elongated or stretched position, which might make each rep even more stimulative for muscle growth. And a quick note on this, if you try this and you haven't done it before, I would make sure to not load the exercise too heavy too quickly. It's worth being patient about incrementally increasing the amount of weight that you lift over time to allow your hamstrings to adapt to the added depth.
Be patient.
Lightning tip number 4, consider adding pauses at the bottom of each rep. I found this to be particularly helpful for several reasons. First, pausing can help you to keep the depth of each rep the same, standardizing them. Second, they can help you to develop and reinforce your mind-muscle connection with the exercise. Pausing in the bottom deep position where your hamstrings are the most stretched out should leave you literally feeling a strong stretch sensation, which should help you connect with those muscles. Third, since the bottom position is probably the most stimulative part of each rep, spending a bit more time there might add a bit more muscle growth stimulus. And 4, it might add a bit more muscle growth stimulus for your spinal erectors too. And here's the third essential Romanian deadlift tip. Find the stretch. The magic of this exercise is that it allows for the ability to expose your hamstrings to tons of tension in their most elongated position. The way that I conceptualize doing this is to find the stretch. It's a super simple concept that helps to guide me to move into the deepest position possible where my hamstrings are being exposed to the highest amount of tension possible. The idea is, if I move to the point where I undeniably feel the stretch, I can feel confident that my hamstrings are being exposed to tons of mechanical tension. A helpful cue you can consider implementing to help you find the stretch is, think about pushing your hips back as far as possible until the point where you feel that big stretch, instead of just thinking about lowering the weight down. And now for the final lightning round. Lightning tip number 5 is to pick whichever Romanian deadlift variation that you like the best. You can perform Romanian deadlifts not only using a barbell, like I've demonstrated, but also using dumbbells, a Smith machine, or even other types of machines. I would pick whichever variation that leaves you with the best mind-muscle connection, where your hamstrings are the limiting factor of the exercise and that you like or simply enjoy performing the most. And lightning tip number 6, which is more of a general hamstring growth tip. To maximally develop your hamstrings, I would consider adding a knee flexion exercise in addition to Romanian deadlifts to your program. Since one of the 4 heads of your hamstrings, the short head of your biceps femoris, is attached only at the knee and not at the hip, it won't experience much muscle growth stimulus from performing a Romanian deadlift because the exercise is pure hip extension. To accommodate for that, including some kind of leg curl variation is probably ideal to make sure that you're hitting the short head of your biceps femoris. And there you have it. By implementing the exercise tips that I've shared with you, I'm willing to bet that not only will you be able to take your Romanian deadlifting to the next level, but that you'll also get the next level hamstring gains that will undoubtedly come with it. Now that we're at the end of this video, be sure to check out this one, where I teach you how to breathe and brace your midsection correctly when lifting. Proper breathing and bracing is a skill that will not only optimize the safety of your exercise performance, but will also play a massive role increasing your rate of muscle and strength gains too. See you there.